Hey guys, what is going on? This is Matt here, and welcome to some more custom zombie scripting. So then guys, in this video we're going to be giving players weapons. Now then, there's two ways to be doing this. The first way which I'll show you is to give the same weapon to all the players in the game. You can give it to all 4 players, you can give it to 3 players, 2 players, even 1 player if you really want to. Or the second way, you can give a weapon to each player in the game of you know, whichever player you want, but you can give them different weapons. So yeah, the first way is basically limited because you can only give the same weapon to each player. But the first way, so you can only give the same weapon to each player, and the second way, you can give different weapons. So then, the first way is, well, before we do start, I'm going to put a quick wait time here. That's going to wait 2 seconds before starting the code, just so I can explain things when we get in game before the actual code starts. It's more really for my benefit than anything. So then, the first way is by using a for loop. Now, just quickly set the for loop up. There we go. Now, the code's actually going to go into here, just into there. Okay, and what we're going to do in these brackets is I'll explain that in a second. But first of all, let me just explain player numbers. So, player 1, which is like, you know, player number 1 in game, is actually known as player number 0. Okay, in coding terms. So player 2 is player 1, player 3 is player 2, and player 4 is player 3. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're actually doing it, just so you give the right things to the right players. Okay, so player number 0 is actually player 1, number 1 is player 2, 2 is 3, and 3 is 4, and, you know, just like that. So then, for this, because we're going to be using this loop for all 4 players, it means we're going to be going around the loop 4 times. Okay, you can do it 3 times, you can do it twice if you want. I'll show you guys how to change it for, you know, how many times you want to go around the loop. The number of times you go around the loop though will be for each player. So because there's 4 players, we'll do it 4 times. If you only want to give it to 3 players, you do it 3 times, and, you know, like that. So then we're going to start on 1. So player 1, we're going to use I for this. It's just quite a common letter to use. I, you use whatever letter you really want, but make sure you are consistent with using that letter within this loop. So then, not for this part anyway. So then we're going to start off on 0. So I equals 0 for the initial, like for the first loop, and because of course it's player 1 we're going to be doing. We're then going to be limiting the loop to 3 players. So player number 3 is going to stop at. So we need to do I is less than 4. Okay. So when I is less than 4, that is when the last loop will be. Okay. So it's going to keep looping around up until I is 3, okay, and then when I is 3, that's going to be the last loop. Okay, so then we're going to do a semicolon again, and now we're going to do I plus plus. Now what it's going to do is it's going to increase I by 1 each time we go around the loop. Okay, so we go around the first time, it's going to be equal to 1. So I will be equal to 1 the first time. Equal to 0 the first time. Then it's going to be equal to 1 on the second loop, 3 on the 2 on the third loop, and it's going to equal to 3 on the fourth loop. Yeah, I get mixed up with these quite a lot. I'm just so used to saying player 1. It's, yeah, it kind of messes me up a little bit by saying player 0 instead. So then, to actually give the player the weapon, then what you're going to do is do players equals get underscore players, just like that. There we go. So what it's going to do is it's going to get all the players in the game, and it's going to set it equal to players. Now if you want to only give it to 3 players, like I said, just change that number. Okay, just like I explained before, that number is the amount of players which are, you're looping around. So let's say you only want to give it to player 1, 2, and 3, then you do I equals 0, I is less than 3, you'd change that to a 3. Whereas if you let's say you wanted to give it to players 2, 3, and 4, you do I equals 1 and leave that the same. Okay, so it's just that these 2 values here you need to be changing depending on what players you want to give it to. But you can't give it to, you couldn't give a weapon to, let's say, player 1 and player 3. You wouldn't be able to do that in a loop. That wouldn't work. So then, next of all, next, sorry, we're going to be actually giving the player the weapon. Okay, so we're going to do players I give weapon, and then the actual weapon name. I'm still using the ray gun because it's quite simple to remember. It's literally just ray underscore gun. That's like the code name for the ray gun. Different guns will have different code names, so you need to know like the actual coding name for the gun. You know, to put it in between them two speech marks. So what it's going to do is it's going to go around the loop 4 times, and in fact, you know what? Let's move this up here. We don't need to repeat that 4 times. So let's quickly pull that up here because we only need to do that once. Just need to do that part once because we can use it then for the second method instead. Just makes the coding shorter really. So then, what it's going to do is go around the loop 4 times. Player number 0 is going to get the weapon. Player 1, player 2, and player 3. Okay, so all 4 players in the game will get this weapon, the ray gun. Okay, all that I is basically later on when I show you guys the second way you can do this, you'll actually be replacing the I with a number. So you'll be putting 1 for player 1, 0 for player 0 for player 1, 1 for player 2, 2 for 3, and 3 for player 4. But because obviously we already have this all set up here, we're just using the letter I. Hopefully that makes sense. Now then, because when the player gets the gun, they won't actually realise that they've got the gun unless they don't have any weapons on them. So we need to switch to that gun. So what we're going to do is going to do players I, just the same, and then switch to weapon. Okay, and then ray gun, or whichever gun you're going to give that player. Okay, followed by a semicolon. Now what it's going to do is going to give each player around the loop a weapon. He's going to give them that ray gun, and then he's also going to switch to the ray gun, so they actually, you know, hold the ray gun, so they realise that they actually have it in their hand. So then, that's how to do it for like a loop sort of method. So then, the second way to do this is if you didn't use this method, then just reuse that. I'm just going to reuse it though for both of them, so I don't need to type it all over again. Just copy and paste it if you really want to. You don't need to though. So then, next we're going to do players the number. So we'll do player 0 at first, and then I'm just gonna quickly copy this and just modify this code a second. So just replace the I with the number. It's just faster than for me to do. Typing out the entire thing all over again. So then what it's going to do is it's going to give player number 1, or in other words player 0, the ray gun and switch to the ray gun. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to copy and paste this, so you have it for each player. Change the player numbers just like this, and there we go. So what it's going to do is within 8 lines of code, it's going to give every single player in the game the ray gun and then switch their weapon to the ray gun, so they actually realise that they actually have it. So then, of course, if you don't want to give it to player 2, you can just remove that line of code just there. If you don't want to give it to player 2, it's as easy as that. You put the lines of code in for the player that you actually want to give it to. Of course, if you don't want to give them all the ray gun, you can change the gun names for each player. Easy as that. And yeah, that's basically how that works. So then, that's how to do all that. Now let's actually go into the actual game now, because we need to see ourselves getting the ray gun using the loop method, and then it will give us another ray gun and switch to the ray gun again. Now only use one of these methods, guys. Okay, don't use the same one. Don't use both of these because it's pointless. You'll be giving the player a ray gun and then giving the player another ray gun in this sort of line of code anyway, you know. So just change the ray gun to something else if you really want to, but yeah, you basically be doing the same thing twice, which is completely pointless. So just while we're testing it, I am going to remove these lines of code here, just because there's no point. This for loop is doing the exact same thing, except with the 8 lines of code, you can individually select which weapon goes to which player, for individual players. So then, I'll see you guys over in game, and I'll show you that it actually does give you the ray gun. I will leave a link to this script if you guys want. in the description below. So I'll have all this here in a text file which you can download in the description, just in case anything goes wrong with your script. You can just quickly have a look at it and make sure that you're doing it all right. So then I'll see you guys over in game and show you it all works. So I'll be back in a second. Okay then guys, so here we are in game. I've just launched my mod and let's launch the map then. So within 2 seconds of the map loading, it's going to give us a ray gun and then switch to the ray gun so we actually see it. So 1, 2, and there we can see we've got the ray gun. Just a normal ray gun, fully working. And yeah guys, that is basically how you do it. If it doesn't work, then please watch the tutorial again and just make sure you have everything all correct. If it still doesn't work, then download the script from the description. I'll put a link in there and have a quick look, make sure it all works. If it still doesn't work, then it should do, because I've literally copied it from what I've been using right now. So yeah, hopefully this helped, and I will put a couple of comments in the code, just so I'll label like first way and second way, just so you can quite easily see the difference between each method, just so it can help you a little bit. So you guys, thank you very much for watching this. Thanks for the support as always, and make sure you do leave a comment below if you do need any additional help. I'll be sure to help you. So thanks for watching this, and I'll see you guys later. See you guys.